Hi, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil by Mike King. I've got Chris McDonough here tonight, and we've got, again, another full house of things to do tonight. Don't we, Chris?
We do. We sure do, Mike. Hi, everybody. It's great to see having everybody here tonight. We have a lot to cover.
It's a new time tonight, Chris. We send out some polls, and people wanted to move it up an hour. I hope that's working out for everybody.
Yep, it's like E.F. Hutton. You know, when you say something, we listen. So here we are. So an hour early, and hopefully we be able to get a lot more of our friends to join with us. How are you doing, Mike? How have you been?
I've been well. It's been busy. We went up to the cabin for the weekend and actually decompressed a little bit, had a little bit of fun, and got some rain finally out here. How was your weekend?
It's busy, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. So what are we going to go over? And everybody, while you're here, hit that subscribe button, pound on that fist, and let's get into it. What do we got, Mike?
Yeah, and I think, folks, one thing we wanted to say is we've been doing a little thinking, trying to figure out how to best manage this. Thursday nights, we're going to really get into content where we don't do a lot of interruptions through the show. Choir practice, we're going to continue to just follow the flow of what's happening out there. And like Chris said, this is a great time. Please, we might say it a few times, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Make sure you're getting the notifications so that you can join in with us. And for those of you who are kind enough to throw out some super chats and things, just know how much it's appreciated. We use that to help cover some of the costs that are associated with this, and especially to those of you who are joining in and helping in the membership areas. That you can enter in pretty cheaply, a really low amount, and you can get those little emojis, including the buddy emoji and the red flags and those things. And then there are some other levels. So why don't you name off a few people who've signed up on here? Chris, let's say hello to a few of our viewers.
Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, folks who are grabbing the merch out there. Hi, everybody. We got Mimi J2, Annie, Maureen, Cheryl, Ann, Miss Sophie, Amber, Lisa, Kitty Cat. I love that name. Retired Sergeant Melinda Lofer, thank you for your service, by the way. We appreciate you very much.
And I think that's Leffler, because I had a partner once that was a Leffler. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. She'll have to let us know on that one, Chris.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Happy little accidents. Rocks, I love it. Nancy Eileen, Cat H, Profiling Evil. Yeah. Oh, that's Tyler threw that in there. He threw me a curveball. So let's get into fantastic. It. Who do we have in the background?
Yeah, and folks, make sure you're checking out the merchandise line. Look down below; you'll see all of that. You'll see all the links you need. But we're gonna jump right in tonight. We've got actually like 5 or 6 guests tonight that we're going to be talking to. Peggy Sue, thank you. And I saw one earlier. Thank you so much for that. Earl, thank you so much, Earl. So let's just get started. We aren't even going to tell you all the people that are coming in. Let's just bring in Andy Moorman right now, and let's talk a little bit about where we are on the search and where things are going. Andy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Excited to get on the road in the morning.
You're on the way.
Yeah, you're going to make the drive tomorrow to Salida then.
Yes, yeah. It'll take us 16, 18 hours to get there.
Well, that's great. I know that you and Chris have been in almost daily conversation, if not multiple times every day. Yeah. Why don't you guys tell us what you've been up to?
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I tell you, so here we are. It's crunch time. You have a brother who I have become good friends with through this, who's on a mission to find his sister, as Mike and I have both come to know Andy and his family. So at if you go to the website, profileonevil.com, and we'll put it into the link here tonight, you'll see there are 2 places or below. Thank you, Michael. Where you're going to be able to get all of the details about the upcoming search. So Andy's, you have a couple of meetings coming this week. You're meeting Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that so everybody knows what you're doing.
Okay. So my first order of business when I get there, of course, is to get with CBI and the Sheriff's Department. And they're kind of brief me and hand me maps and give me areas that can be searched, and also mark off some areas that can't be searched because they're private property.
Okay.
That's the first order of business when I get there. The second thing that has to happen is there'll be some liability sheets once again for everybody to sign. I'm certain that the CBI and the Sheriff's Department will be providing some of those on their behalf. And I have one for me personally, just to protect us from anything silly. There's really not much to it. It's just I am volunteering, and I understand the risks involved with a search like this. So you have to realize we're in rough terrain, and it can be dangerous. We're not going to purposely do that. Of course, we're going to be very careful and try to put people with their skill set in the right areas where they can be most effective and safe at the same time. And, you know, everybody needs to realize also, we've still got this COVID thing going on. So masks, you need to bring them. There's going to be a crowd of us, and we need to be in masks, and we need to try to stay distanced to some extent. I know some of that will be really hard at times, but the masks protect people. It's proven study that this virus doesn't spread very well through a mask, and it stops you from projecting it and other people breathing it in. So let's be careful. None of us want to get sick, especially now or anytime really. So
yeah,
that's the first order of business. And then on the 24th at 8 a.m.
Thursday morning.
Yes, this is Thursday at 8 a.m. We're all going to meet in the visitors parking lot out of Pueblo there.
Poncho Springs.
Thank you, Poncho. I get those mixed up.
We didn't even know there were two visitor centers.
I sure didn't either.
Up until yesterday.
Hey, and on that, Andy,
one of our listeners.
Yeah, Shaner, who's going to join us in a minute, is going to actually make a map available to everybody so they can get to those places without having to know their way around or write in addresses and stuff. So he'll be covering some things on that in a minute.
Great, that's helpful. Yeah.
So 8 a.m. Thursday morning.
And at that point, we're going to choose teams, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're going to assign as many people to those teams to evenly divide. And for instance, team A might be some of your climbers, divers, and guys that are acclimated to the high altitudes. And team B might just be below that. And team C down a little further. And there'll be checkpoints at every area. We'll start our search as soon as we can get out after our meeting, and everybody will check in at the station on their way into search. And then as they come down off of the mountains or out of the trail areas, they're going to check back out. And that is the point of that, is to know where everybody is and that we all made it in safely. We leave no soldiers behind. So that's kind of the plan.
And
that's fantastic. Now, sorry, Chris. Did you say, Andy, you were going to work two searches per day or two blocks of searching?
Yeah, that's the idea. Once we decide how many teams we have, we're going to just choose different areas, and we're going to block those areas off and search them. And then if we don't get them all covered in that day, we'll be back there again the next day. And we'll continue until we've completed the grid that we want to search.
Awesome.
And you have a number of places that you want to check in addition to what you're, I guess, hoping that the sheriff will give you when you meet tomorrow or, I guess, Wednesday.
Yes. Monarch Mountain Pass would be one, all the way to Dead Horse Gulch. And there's a reservoir up at Monarch Pass we're going to check out real good with boats, and a lot of searching on foot up that way. Dead Horse Gulch, I really don't know the extent of that one, but I know there's a reasonably good trail system. I don't feel like we're going to have to travel a long way, because I don't think there was time from the time this was committed to the time she was hidden. I don't think there was time to get her very far. And my suspect is she's not hidden all that well. So I don't think it's going to be just a terrible, great big distance that we're going to have to cover. There's a lot of area in these areas, but it's not like we've got to travel 100 miles to search. I think that we're within a 30, 40 mile radius of Salida.
That's a huge area. If I can pause you for a second, Andy, I want to just let everyone know we're listening to Andy Moorman, who has organized this search for his sister, Suzanne, in Salida beginning on Thursday. This has been something he's had in the plans for over 30 days. I think, Andy, the numbers are really close to 500 that have signed up through Profiling Evil. How grateful we are for the chance you've given us to participate and support you in this. And, before I turn it back to Chris again for a second, I want to just call out a couple of people, Chris, because folks are really stepping up right now. Jackie M., thank you for that $20 bonus. Kathy Drew, the same. Thank you for sending the money over, $20. Karen, we know that you and everyone else really wish you could be here. Karen Olson, who sent some money through. And I got to just pat myself on the back. Retired Sergeant Melinda Leffler, Chris, she did confirm that. Prayers for you and family, Andy, from the Lefflers for $50. That's just amazing. Jackie M., $20. Thank you so much. Chris, you have been many times per day for the last month on the phone with Andy. What's this thing been like for you to watch a guy who makes root beer and hot dogs for a living turn it into a search and rescue expert?
It's been humbling. I mean, we've become friends. He's the day I met him, the day I heard him say, "I want to get my sister. I need your help." And this is what we do, right, Mike? I mean, we've been in this business a long time, and he would do the same for me. I could feel it in his spirit the moment I talked to him.
Yeah,
So I know you would, and your sister's lucky to have you.
Yeah,
because go ahead.
I want everybody to realize something too. There were some crazy rumors out there. Oh, this guy's getting rich off of this. This guy's this, that, the other. How much have you guys paid me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
How much have I paid you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd just say right now, folks, zero is the amount, both directions.
This has nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with money. It has to do with finding my little sister. And the donations that have been sent, I want everybody to know, I'm funding my own way out of pocket the whole time. I'll pay for everything on my own. The only money that I will use that search money for, or the only purpose of it, will be to fuel vehicles and to take care of the people that are helping in this search. It's not for me. Not one penny. I promise.
Well, and Chris and I can attest to that. We have watched Andy, and this is a man who has an honest soul, and we're really grateful for the chance. You've had some amazing outpour of support and love from the community of Salida and surrounding, Andy. Maybe we could talk about that for a minute. It looks like we lost Chris for a moment, but he'll be back in.
Yeah. The people in Salida have been absolutely wonderful. That's not a very big community, and they're all about this. You have to realize that their thoughts. First off, Suzanne touched a lot of people in that town. Everybody that met her loved her. I mean, she was really a nice person. And secondly, they're aware that they've got a criminal wandering the streets out there. They've got somebody who's evil wandering the streets. They want answers. They want to feel safe in their community, and I want to help them do that. And you guys do too. And I'll tell you right now, I couldn't have done one lick of this without the help of Chris and Mike from Profiling Evil. Not one lick. I couldn't have done it myself. The format you provided me has just been tremendous, and I really hope in the future we can do this for a lot of people.
Well, that's amazing to me, Andy. I mean, right now there's 1,000 people listening to you explain the kinds of things you've put into place. Sherry Long, God bless you, Andy, and your entire family. We're keeping you in our daily prayers. Keep the faith. I mean, people, this, if there were ever questions of whether humanity is going in the right direction, these are the kinds of things. Cloud Kicker, thank you. North Carolina, Barbara Johnson, $50. I mean, Andy, I don't know. Chris and I, we're new to this YouTube thing. But this crime fighting family out there is absolutely incredible.
It's spectacular. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. I honestly think you guys are starting a movement. I'm just a small part of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we've been saying is you started a movement and we're a small part of it.
Yeah, we're humbled. We really are. And so a couple of things, I probably went into space for a moment there. So one of the other things is people have stepped up for food, right? Let's kind of acknowledge, I mean, we're just a small piece of this, but there are a lot of people that have stepped up. The gal at the gym, Kim's gym, who got hold of her landlord and said, "Hey, can these guys park their RVs and camp out here in the parking lot in their cars if they need to play?" And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thank you for her. Who else is helping out? The gal at Suzanne's barbershop.
Trish out there has just done a tremendous amount. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
She's rallied support from all over Salida and surrounding communities. I mean, it's just unbelievable what that lady's done. Provided housing for some. And even a shout out to the Gateway Motel for giving us discounted rates. I know they need the business, but she didn't have to discount us. We would have had to rent a place regardless. And she stepped up to the plate and has been very nice and accommodating. And, the people of Salida have just been overwhelmingly supportive.
Yeah, I think, Mike, what are the numbers from locals? Like 2/3, right?
3/4 now. Yeah, 3/4 of your people are from the area.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, familiar with the territories.
They know the area. They know the terrain. Yeah. They know the weather, and so the rest is going to be elementary. Now, there's also you've got some team leaders that you're meeting with the night before, so everybody understands. This just isn't going to be something that everybody's going to go, where do I go from here?
No, it's not going to be a wing it thing, that's for sure. There are some professional search and rescue people that have agreed to team lead, and I'm just imagining groups of 50, okay? One of my good friends, Troy Greer, went out today, and the first thing I did, I told him, I said, get a hold of Trish and see if you can secure a school bus. Troy was a school bus driver for us here in Alexandria, and and if that works out, that would be wonderful. Then we can haul a lot of people to a certain area, set up a checkpoint right at the school bus, reload, and one big trip. So that will be hugely helpful if he can pull that off. So I'm kind of hoping out there in Salida, they've got a retired school bus or two that maybe we can get our hands on, and I'll fuel them. That's no problem. You know what I mean?
Yep. And so then every night, like you said, for the folks just joining us, they'll be checking back in. Yeah. We got to make sure there's checks and balances when they sign in. They're going to get a waiver sheet, and that's not for Andy or for anybody else. I mean, we have, everybody has to be included, but that's in case, somebody falls into some barbed wire and it ends up being private property. We don't want any liability issues for the Moorman family or anybody else, yourself included. You don't want anybody coming back. So we've got a whole bunch, Jennifer, Allo, Amy, thank you guys so much for supporting what's going on here. Everybody's so grateful. And the other good news is on GoFundMe for Suzanne, the search, you hit the goal.
I did. Yeah. 10,000.
And that money is being used, isn't it, Andy?
It is. Absolutely. It's going to
be. Yeah. For this search, isn't it?
Every penny of it. Anything left over, I'll probably donate to search and rescue out there. So
there you go.
If there is a leftover, and maybe help some of the people in Salida that have stepped really up to the plate and provided food and shelter and everything else. If I can compensate them in some way, that'd be wonderful. I know they don't expect it, but I would love to.
Mike?
Yeah. No, I think this is so amazing. I mean, we look at the GoFundMe and the fact that people have stepped up. There are so many that said, Andy, they can't be out there physically, but they were able to put a few dollars toward this, and to know that you've hit that level. And I know that just a few days ago, Tricia from Web Sleuth stepped up and said they wanted to help out, and they wanted to help with some food. I know that you got this food, or people helping with food. Did you mention Walmart as well, Andy, and what they're doing?
Yeah, I've understood that Tricia went out to the Walmart. Of course, they still have a missing sign out there of Suzanne, and it's still on the front of the building. And I'm pretty sure they donated some water and other supplies. So that's very helpful.
That's very helpful. Way to go, Walmart.
Yeah.
Way to go, Walmart. Good job.
There you go. You know, folks, we're on with Andy Moorman. He's talking about the search that's coming up. And we want to thank those of you who have been helping out tonight with some super chats and others. And we may have missed a couple of you, and we'll continue. Paulus for $20. Thank you. Dreamin' Butterflies, $5. The world is watching. We're right with you, Andy. The world is watching you. Good golly, Ms. Molly, $10. God bless you, Andy. Alley Cat, $5. Macaz, I think $7.81, and HD $55 each. I mean, this is just amazing to us. And the fact that in a matter of about 3 weeks, you hit that $10,000 goal mark to pay for fuel and everything else that needs to be paid for when you're out there is really a testament to the goodness of people and the amazing things that you've been inundated, Andy, with calls from Court TV and Dateline and Dr. Phil and others. Did you ever think a kid from Indiana would be doing this?
No, nor did I think a kid from Indiana ever wanted to do anything like this. But you know,
there you go.
It's part of the territory. I have to do it to get the message out. It's the only way I can rally support for this effort, and it's just part of it. You know.
Yeah, and Andy, the reason we're even mentioning this is because we know a lot of people have been pretty cruel on social media, and none of it's true.
I know.
And we just want the world to know what you see below us here is the real deal. Yeah. This is Suzanne's older brother, and he is on a mission to find his little sister.
Yeah.
And so it's our honor and everybody's honor in this chat, and anybody watching this show tonight, it's their honor, all of us. I hope I speak on behalf of everybody to let you know we're on the team. And if it's prayers, that's enough.
Yeah.
If it's boots on the ground, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so we're all going to go. So we've got a lot to cover here tonight. And a couple of the other things, we've got Dr. Amy coming on, right, Mike, later on to talk about health issues, and everybody loves Dr. Amy. We've got some of the other team for some of the technology issues that I'll let you tee up in a little bit here. And then we may have another guest who was actually out there already searching today and may have discovered some stuff that, quite frankly, has already been collected by the sheriff's department. So,
Chris, and I don't know if he's going to make it because I think he was going to try to be here a little earlier. But maybe we should spend a minute and just talk about that and help the listeners know what happened, because this is a person who couldn't make it on the dates that you had the search scheduled for, Andy, but he still flew out on his own, drove down there, and has spent the last 3 days and was familiar with the area from living years earlier there, if I remember right, Chris.
Yep.
But why don't you talk a little bit, Chris, about what we learned today from that individual?
Yeah, and I talked to Andy earlier about this. So, he was out there and he'd been searching, geographic regions. And this is exactly why Andy put this into motion, guys. Okay. It's not only for his little sister, but quite frankly, we know there are a couple other people that have gone up missing in that area. And anyway, today he came across some items that he showed through pictures. Immediately we said, let's get the sheriff's office down there. Now, we don't know what it means or what it is. We're not sure. We don't know if it's connected in any way, shape, or form. So no, we're not going to guess. We're not going to hypothesize, okay? But the fact that he found something that looked out of place, as we call it, right? Our PE family, we call it DLR, does not look right. And the fact that he stopped and got hold of the right people, and then the right evidence people got there and collected, that's a home run in of itself. That's a home run. And this is exactly why Andy's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And with the goal of obviously finding your little sister. And you have some specific places that you're going to search.
Yeah.
And we know what those are. And you're going to reveal that on Thursday morning during the debriefings after the sheriff's department, after CBI, and then with all of the people, right? Okay.
Yeah, once I get all the information in place that I need, then I'll reveal these areas that we're going to search, and maybe I'll give a small why we're going to search these areas.
Yep. Okay.
That's
perfect. So
that's fantastic. And, I think it's been pretty amazing, Chris, to watch even the other tips that have come in. And, we're forwarding those on to Andy. Some we're forwarding directly to the CBI and to the sheriff's office. But
Chris,
folks,
our heads
pardon?
have been spinning all week. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. I'm talking 3 or 4 earth-shattering tips a day. And I'm calling Chris. I'm saying, did you see that? What's that all about? And I mean, he and I are, Mike, I'm sorry. I got one guy I'm contacting. I can't talk to 2 guys. My head's spinning in circles so fast.
You're talking to the smart one. That's the key.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I can tell you this much. It's been really helpful to me, and he's kept me on an even keel this whole time. And I appreciate that, because it's been tough.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Chris. Well, we have a little surprise for you in just a couple of minutes as we bring on the mapping and GIS team from Profiling Evil to talk a little bit. But I'll tell you, it has been amazing to me to watch as that evidence is rolled in and then plotting that to a map and seeing how that interplays with the decisions that you have to make in where to search. It's really remarkable to see the people coming forward. And I can't get over the number of people from the local community that were just frustrated that they haven't had a way to help.
Well, and maybe also frustrated by the lack of action in that area. I don't know about anybody else, but part of the reason I did this was I didn't feel like anybody else was. And I know they're working behind the scenes, but not boots on the ground. And I also understand funding. And, eventually you run out of money to do these things. So what we're doing is just hugely important financially to the government and the city out there and the sheriff's department, because they run out of funds. And eventually you can't get volunteers, you can't get people if you can't fund operations. So, what we're doing is great big.
Yeah. This is a first that I've ever been involved in of this magnitude, Andy, to be honest with you. And I just think it's fantastic. I think we've lost your audio. Oh, you're back. Anyway, so we're having bandwidth problems all around tonight. I dropped off a little bit ago. I went to space and I came back, just so if anybody wants to know, I was I did the old Star Trek.
Well,
I'm back.
Let's just acknowledge a couple of people. Mimi J too. Thank you so much for your help. Every little bit absolutely does help, and folks, we're seeing every lot of bits. Just what you've been kind enough to do, Lynn. Thank you, Mama Mia. Thank you, folks. We just again are. It's really humbling to me and Chris to see this. What I'd like to do while we wait for Andy to come back in is I want to bring in Jeremiah, who each of you all met last week while we were on together, and also Jeff from our GIS and mapping team. And we'll first say hello to the two of them. Jeremiah, how you doing? Jeff?
Great, thanks.
Hey, guys.
Doing well. Thank you.
So
let's tee it up. What are they going to be doing?
Yeah, folks, these two brilliant scientists are in charge of helping putting together the mapping and the evidence collection for this team of 500 searchers who are going to be wandering across the Salida area. And we thought it would be interesting for you to see what this technology looks like and how it will be used. Tomorrow, those who have signed up will be giving a name and a password to be able to log in and take advantage of the software and start using it and playing with it for a day or two before the search begins. And Jeff's also created a way for everyone around the world to be able to sneak in and see what's going on, including Chris, if Andy gives us permission once we get rolling, to see the movement of people as they're moving around. So that's going to be really exciting. But I'd like, if you would, Jeff, just talk a little bit about your history, because folks, we called on Jeff because the last time I was involved in a major search that involved hundreds of police officers and drones and dog teams and boat teams, the mastermind behind that was Jeff Shaner, and I'm just so thrilled that he would jump in to help us out on this, Chris. And he's already met Andy, and when Andy can get back on, he'll jump on. But Jeff, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, since they met Jeremiah last week, and then let's introduce your app first and what the thought is behind that.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show this evening, Mike. I really appreciate that. I'm with our software development team here at Esri, and I've been with the company for 25 years. This month is actually my 25th anniversary with the company. And in the software development group, we build a set of mobile applications and desktop and web applications that can be used for a lot of different purposes. I guess I got my start working on public safety initiatives back in the onslaught of the Deepwater Horizon incident, where I was in Houma, Louisiana, deploying the National Guard and a few other organizations that needed to use mobile solutions in the response effort. And then I got the opportunity to work with a few folks within our company on a search operation in Alabama, the one that you mentioned earlier, where we used our location tracking technology to monitor the locations of responders and use the locations of their tracks to kind of cover a search area. We also used other mobile applications that we provide to locate possible evidence locations that can be used for future follow-up investigations too. So the application that we're going to employ for the search operation is one called ArcGIS Tracker. And the tracker application's sole purpose is to take your GPS locations, record them as you're moving, and then store them in a database and share them with others on a dashboard. And we can use those tracks and the history of where someone has gone to analyze the coverage over a search area. And you'll know where someone has been, but more importantly, where someone hasn't been. And that app's been used for a lot of different law enforcement type of operations by a number of different agencies over the past year or two since we built and released it.
Thanks, Jeff. I want to also bring in Rob Feuerstein, who you've met Rob in previous shows, and it's really good to have you here with us, Rob. Rob's going to walk you through and show you some of the maps and the technology. Also, a special landing page that we're going to create that's been created just for the searchers to get information, and then Jeremiah is going to show some dashboards and other things. So hopefully, everybody, this is something that's of interest to you, because this is something that only generally in a law enforcement function, only the cops get on the inside. So this will be fun. So Rob, if you can hear me, you're up. There we go.
I need a few more minutes, Mike. So if you have any good stories.
We have lots of good stories. In fact, I'm going to go back to Shaner for a moment. So Jeff, one of the things that was so interesting when the search went on in Alabama was the sheer number of searchers that were out there. We're actually doing it a little differently this time around. What's some of the differences that are going on, and what is making this so unique and maybe groundbreaking?
Well, we used some early technology in that Alabama search, and one of the challenges we had with Alabama is that the coverage area didn't have cellular connection, and we were able to get a cell on wheels up in place that let us get most of the search area covered, but we didn't have the ability to store those location tracks when you lost internet coverage. In this instance, the new technology that we've built stores all that information regardless and it can send those locations when you gain that connectivity. We also had challenges with battery life in the application. So this application that we've developed now uses a combination of a GPS location as well as the motion and fitness APIs inside of your device, so that it only tracks based upon movement or activity. If you're standing still, we're not going to keep the battery draining and the GPS chips alive. We're going to shut that down and then wait till you move and start waking it back up again. And it really does a lot to conserve battery life. It's been put in action for a lot of NFL football games, like the Super Bowl, and Green Bay Police has been using it for the Packers games. And we're able to get, with this adaptive technology, 8 to 10 hours, even 12 hours without a battery charge of continuous tracking. So it's some new advancements with the technology that are really helping us out here.
That's fantastic. Guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you if you can hold for a minute. That'll give Rob one more minute to get all his ducks in a row, because we wanted to bring in a special guest right now. And Mike, if we could have you come in for a minute. And Chris, I'll let you kind of drive this discussion with Mike.
Yeah. So Mike, let's see here. Tyler, can we tee him up here? So Mike, I see him down at the bottom. So folks, Mike is a perfect testament of what Andy is trying to accomplish. Andy, meet Mike. He's just below you there.
Hi, Mike.
What
a
Mike,
pleasure.
meet Andy.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
So,
Hey, Andy, how you doing?
so in a nutshell, Mike flies in and goes on a search and finds some items today that were reported to the sheriff's department. Would that be accurate, Michael? He's got to get a good signal here. Hang on. This must be a really important show tonight, because all of these little technical glitches are taking place. Mike, can you hear us now?
It looks like he's freezing up, and we might have to give him one more chance and then move on. Mike,
can you hear
Yeah,
us?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so just give us a brief rundown of what you did today, and not necessarily what you found, but what you did today and what got you there.
Well, today was
all right. I think we're gonna have to move on that, and maybe we'll get Mike when he gets back home, because he's flying out tomorrow morning, right, Chris?
He's flying out from Denver tomorrow. So the nutshell, folks, if you just joined us, Mike signed up to be a volunteer. He was so driven to help, he volunteered a week early because he couldn't make it for Andy this week. He's been searching for the last 4 days. He came across some evidence. We're not sure what it is yet, but it was enough to call the sheriff's department and their evidence team, and they came out and collected some things. So this is exactly the reason why Andy is doing what he's doing. And guys like Mike, we just wanted to acknowledge him and thank him. And I know everybody in our family and everybody here tonight would also agree that what we're doing. So, Michael, where are we at with some of the technology?
Well, he comes back in, and we'll give him one more shot. But I just want to call out Jane Bond 007. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Classy lady. $25. Thank you so much. Susan Leport. I hope I said that right. I agree. This is an amazing team. Jill Johnston, thank you. Everyone's prayers are going out to Andy and his family. And again, Sergeant Leffler, thank you so much for that. Rob, let's take a minute, and why don't you share with Andy what you and the team have been working on? Because I think he's been kind of waiting with bated breath to see what you come up with here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get this screen share going. Okay, let me know when you can see
It's
that and I'll
working.
get going. Excellent. Okay, so what we've done is we've taken several of the videos and a lot of the resources that the Moorman family and Profiling Evil have put together, and we've tried to compile a lot of that into one site for the search for Suzanne. So this will be a resource for all the volunteers that are coming in town and getting ready to help out with the search. And so some of this will look familiar to a lot of the viewers. And I'll just kind of go through some of this, but it covers the case and the history in great detail. And so everybody can come in and get caught back up or review some of this again. And then we've also done is that we have a few steps. Everybody who's volunteered is going to receive an email from Profiling Evil with more instructions on how to download some mobile applications and the resources to help in the search. And if they get stuck or you just want to see, what those next steps are, they can come in here and they can find all the links they need. We're also, I think later tonight, we're going to post a couple
We are batting 1,000 tonight, or so I say 1,400
mobile
on the-
applications, which will. Oh, what's up, Chris?
Oh, there we go,
Rob.
Rob. We lost you for a
You
second.
froze. You froze. Go back.
I'm
up
back.
Okay. Yeah. Go back up. There you go. Right there.
Okay, so sorry about that. What we have here are just the few steps needed for all the volunteers. They'll get that email to create their account. They'll come in and download a couple mobile applications, volunteer in their time to help search for Suzanne. And after every day, when they get done with their search, they'll upload that data to help the organizers and the family understand where everybody's been and to help redirect search efforts the following day. And we'll post a couple videos, hopefully later today, for everybody, a couple how-to videos on those mobile apps on how to use them. And we also have some other resources, some previous videos from Profiling Evil, as well as how Profiling Evil is partnering with and supporting the Moorman family. We have some other great resources and information. And then information on where to meet up and when to help with the search. So we'll keep building on this and adding more resources today and tomorrow. And everybody who volunteered, please look out for an email and you'll be able to create your username and password to gain access to the search applications to help out.
That's fantastic, Rob. Now, can you help people get an idea of what these apps actually are going to do and what you're going to see or what Andy will be able to see in his command center?
I can. I need another minute. I'm trying to get those fired up so I can actually show them on the screen. So if you can...
Yeah, and while you're doing that, Jeff, if you could, let's talk about the Explorer app that everyone in the world can tap into and get a view. And Andy, we haven't asked you this yet, but with your permission, we will be able to show in as much real time as the area of Salida will allow when there's connectivity, where searchers are working and doing their thing, but not what evidence is being collected. We can show that to everyone in the world if you want to turn that on. Otherwise, we're going to have all of the search areas just posted up where people can see those as they, at the end of the day, when we know that they've happened in a certain area.
Yeah, I think that's worth discussing. I'd love for the people of Profiling Evil to be able to see the progress in motion. Of course, we don't want to compromise anything, but I think that's a perfectly reasonable request personally. All these people have donated and they're anxious to know, and I think updates would be great for them.
That's cool. Well, Jeff, why don't you share some of the thoughts you've had in this area?
Yeah, well, we made a couple of public maps, and the maps show information like, where the meetups are going to take place, where the vigil is going to happen on the 25th. And it's possible to open up that map in your web browser, or we have a mobile application you can download and open up and use it and see that information on your mobile device too, on your iPhone, your iPad or Android device too. So we could probably show that to you if you want to see it. It has a search grid and locations on it, you'd be able to get directions to those locations if you want as well.
That's great. I forgot to ask you, Jeff, if you know how to share your screen. Maybe you could pull that right up and put it on. If not, when Rob's done, we'll have Tyler tutor you in the background while we're getting ready. There should be a share screen button there, and just select screen, the tab where you're showing.
Yeah, looks like I've got some issues with my Mac wanting to share that, more technical challenges, but I could come off, come back in, and show it in a bit if you have time.
Oh, we have time. Absolutely. Mike's frozen in the middle. This is a great show tonight. I mean, look, he gets to go to space now, and he's back. Okay, he went up with Elon. Mike's back.
One thing I would love to mention to people is I have several techies that have signed up. And what I mean by that is, if you're an old guy like me, operating an iPhone is not the easiest thing on the planet. But I'm going to have people at the check stations that will be able to assist in the download of these apps. So if you're apprehensive about that, we got you covered.
That's awesome. That's
Amazing.
awesome. So, Mike, are you back?
Good. Bob, I think we're back to you then if you're ready to roll. And then let's have Jeremiah show the dashboard and see how this goes.
Well, yeah. So, Jeremiah, what do you got for us?
Sure. Rob, you want another minute or two?
I'm almost there. So yeah, take your time and I'll be ready to roll once you're done.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to show the dashboard or do you want to show the apps first?
Go ahead if you want.
Okay.
So while
I
they're
can share
doing that,
screen
just
real
for all
quick.
of our viewers,
Let's see here.
this is what happens at what they call an RTCC. It's a real-time crime center. Am I right, Mr. King?
It's exactly right. This is
When
real-time stuff.
When something's going down, this is exactly how you're fixing problems. And you notice the whole team here is moving forward. Not a single person has lost a beat. So you're up, Jeremy.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
All right. Yeah, thanks. That's okay. Yeah, so I had no idea you guys were getting this involved in this case until I got asked to speak about something different last week. I'm from Colorado. I'm going to run up myself Friday. I'd be more than happy to help out with installing devices, and if anyone's coming brand new on Friday as well. So I live down in the Denver area. But what we're looking at now is a map that has a couple of those locations that Mike kind of took the information already and plotted. Where the house was, where some existing locations are. We can also put in the meetup location on here. And there's reference grids to kind of, this is something called the U.S. National Grid, these kind of red squares. So we can always have a frame of reference as to where something might happen. Now I got some data from Colorado. You can see that the green areas, that's National Forest land. The brown is BLM. And the blue is Colorado state lands. So, for the most part, all that should, definitely be, open and publicly accessible. I know, Andy, you said you're going to work on getting some localized maps. All the area that's near town or that's not covered by those areas. Definitely, I think would be more cautious because you're looking at a lot more private land there. But I guess there's two things on the dashboard that I don't want to steal too much of Rob's thunder, but he's really going to get into the two apps. So when you talked about the instructions that you're going to get and you're going to have applications, one of the applications is just going to be tracking you. That's what Jeff was talking about. So a few of us, Mike and Rob and I have been doing that already. So what this looks like is you can see that I have some track locations, and I drove my daughter down to a soccer game. So that was me driving over the weekend. But you basically get these breadcrumbs of where you've been, and you can kind of see where that has happened. And you can imagine that if all the volunteers follow the instructions and get the tracks as to where they've been, we're going to get a nice area, a nice representation of where everything has been, so we can start to see all of those locations pop up. The other thing that is going to happen is on the left, the second application are the field observations. And Mike was kind of taking some test points for these, but the The field observations is the second application. So if you see something that you want to collect and capture and bring back, all that information can be captured on another application. If you there's another option to take a picture of it. So if you see a picture or if you see something suspicious, you want to report it, it's going to tag that location, but it's also going to capture back a picture.
Okay,
so
let's
you really
stop
get
for
a
a second.
comprehensive map.
Can we stop for a second?
Yep.
Guys, or for our audience, look how cool this is. This is amazing stuff. So you're going to be able, if you see something and it does not look right, you go click, and then it will be captured and uploaded. I'm sorry, Jeremiah. I apologize, but this is
no.
such cool stuff.
I'm glad you did, actually, Chris. Jeremiah, could you zoom in on actually, Tyler and I were taking some points around the cabin, which is that cluster on the east side of what you're showing right now. If you could zoom in on that area, just give people an idea too, down to the detail of what this looks like. And this was some of the four-wheeling that we did over the weekend on the ATVs.
Wow. So this is you guys on the ATVs.
Yeah, this is Tyler and me over the weekend, and then walking around by the cabin, just collecting things like photographs and other kinds of things in the immediate area.
Wow, Jeremiah, Jeff, Rob, you guys are awesome. This is off the hook. Very cool. Andy, what do you think of this so far?
Oh, I think I want to hang out with Mike on those ATVs, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You bring the root beer and you got a free place to sleep.
Hey, no problem. I'll throw a hot dog or two in too.
Yeah. So we've got a question here. What if Suzanne's hiding on private land? Do you need a search warrant? You need one of two things. You need consent from the property owner to search their land. If they give you consent to search that land, yes, you can search it. If it's private property, you cannot trespass. So do not trespass onto the property. But if you suspect there's something there, you can visually see it, then by all means, let the command post know and arrangements can be made. I'm sorry, I wanted to catch that question before it took off.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Back at you.
For everybody's information, I do have a connection out there that's willing to help us with some of the private lands by soliciting permission. So a pretty important person out there has stepped up to the plate and said they would be happy to help in that way, and they know almost everyone in that area. So, if we feel it's necessary, then we'll push that button.
Very good. Very good. So Jeremiah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's pause right there. Jeremiah, talk a little bit about what the screen's showing and help Andy understand what this is going to mean when they're trying to put this together, and maybe Shaner jump in and share, once this is turned into analytics, what it really tells us as far as how much of the area has been covered.
Well, I think it's just showing you in real time where things happening. So as soon as people are moving around, you're getting this information updated. To me, my takeaway from this is you have so many people, there's going to be a potential to have duplicate efforts. So you can see what happened your first day out there Thursday, and then start to look at Friday. And then, I'm not sure about what other intel you have, but if you have areas you really want to focus in on, you can kind of see, are we hitting that area enough? So I think that's a good job of, kind of helping explain that, just giving you real insight as to, what all these great volunteers are going to be doing.
Right. I love it.
Well, let's switch over to Rob for a minute. And Rob, if you're ready, let's talk about that. And then in about 6 minutes, we'd like to bring in Dr. Salerno.
For the medical side.
Okay, I can do that in 6 minutes. So the two apps that are going to be downloaded to use are Tracker, which we discussed a little bit, and you saw there in the dashboard, which is just going to grab your tracks as you move around. It's really easy to download, and once you log in, it's as simple as turning it on. And when you're done, you can turn it off. One of the great things about this application is that, hold on, are you seeing my screen right now? Okay.
Not if you were activating Tracker.
Yeah, it's not showing up. Okay, let me try again. Well, I apologize. Let me try now. Well, it looks like the phone doesn't want to share tonight. Okay, that's unfortunate. So I'll just verbally go through it real quick. So the tracker app, you just simply turn on and off. That's it. And if you are outside of cellular coverage, the phone stores all your GPS location information for several days so that when you do maintain or establish connectivity again, all of that location information is loaded up into a single data repository. So you can see it in that dashboard that Jeremiah showed, which is just absolutely great. And with the other application, which is just a survey for capturing reports in the field, just a couple quick fields for taking notes, snap a picture. And again, it's all stored locally. And then once you can upload it, at the end of the day, it all goes to that single repository so we can see it on the dashboard, and it can help the family and the search organizers with their efforts.
And just a curious question, some people are always worried about privacy on their phones. How does this affect their privacy?
So they have 100% control over the application when it's tracking and when it's not tracking. And just in case you want to, remind yourself of when to stop, you can put a reminder on there so that at the end of the day, when searching concludes, you'll get notifications on your phone reminding you to turn tracking off. Okay, cool. And in addition to that, we also put some safeguards in place around the search area. So if someone does leave their phone on as tracking, we will delete all that data outside of the search area. So wherever you're headed to, home, a friend's house, wherever that is, none of that information will be stored, and it'll only be the tracking location over the search area.
Okay, great.
Great question.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Chris, any questions for Rob? And
no, other than these guys are, amazing.
Yeah,
and
they are amazing.
Does Jeremiah, how many times have I hacked your name up and you've sat there, like a champion, just saying, he's old. We excuse him, and you're awesome, dude.
Good.
And Jeff, Jeff, did you have a screen that you think you can share now? Did you feel or?
Yeah, let me try and salvage Rob's demo there for him.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, that's our routine. Is Jeff has to pick up my Slack and make me look good, or at least attempt to. So it's all yours, Jeff.
Can you see my screen now?
There we go. Yes, we can.
Absolutely.
So this is my iPhone I'm sharing, and I'll just bring that tracker app up. This is what you see when you sign in. And as Rob was talking about, you just flick the switch of when you're tracking and when you're not tracking, and it shows your location on top of the map if you want. And back in here, you can turn on reminders and say, what time and you want it to start and when you want it to stop. And then the other app I was going to show is that app called Explorer, and you can see if you download that app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, and I think we'll provide links out, right? You'll see this list of maps, and we have a map that has effectively what Jeremiah was showing earlier. So you can see that search grid here. You can see those meeting locations. If I tapped on meeting spot, I could ask for it to give me directions. Also, if there's some location we want to get a compass for, we can turn on the compass capability, and it'll give us kind of that bearing and direction from our current location to that spot. But I'm off in California, so it doesn't really care about me. But that's just awesome. A quick glimpse right there. And, if it makes sense to do so, that map would live update when people are searching, and, we could see those locations if you want.
So if we could get that link, Jeff, if you'd get that to Tyler, we'll put that down below in the description box, and we'll even shoot it out. That's for everybody in the world. It doesn't cost to download it. It's free, and you'll be able to click on and access that during the search and see some pieces of information as Andy and the sheriff deem that it's appropriate to release that. That will become available to those that are searching tomorrow. Tomorrow, Rob, they'll be receiving names and passwords.
So tomorrow, everyone will receive an email, and they'll have the ability to create their own username and password, and then they'll have access to the website and all the mobile applications.
Yeah.
Okay.
And reiterate that, Mike, that these are the folks that are going to be boots on the ground at the search. We don't want, we don't want to confuse it with, both applications, right? One application's open to the world. The second is open to those boots on the ground. Is that right, Rob and team? And so that everybody knows,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you guys aren't interested in folks going into Walmart in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing, Chris. Folks, if you end up with a change of plans and cannot come to Salida to help in this effort,
Please
don't, out of curiosity, download the apps and log in and start recording information. That's only going to create extra work for people and confusion. So this will be just for those who have signed up to say they are going to be at the search. You'll receive an email tomorrow. If your plans have changed, please do not download that information.
Yeah,
The
let
link
us
that we
know.
put below will be for everybody to just monitor and see what's going on. And so that will be below.
Yeah, and
Mike, go ahead, Chris.
I have two other points, Michael, that have come up here. Dogs. Andy, do you have access to dogs?
There are going to be some there. Got some cadaver dogs coming, and
Okay.
we'll dispatch those to the appropriate areas at the appropriate times.
Okay, and the second is drones and any other GPS devices.
I've got a lot of guys bringing TomToms, and I have been reached by several people in the Salida area who fly drones professionally. And so I'm hoping that maybe those drones can be tied into this search grid. Am I correct or wrong, Rob?
Yes, the overlay from those drones and their footprint and the areas they've covered can all be viewed, and we can bring that in and view it on top of all the search efforts.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the A team right here, guys. These guys are amazing.
So folks, for those of you watching, and there are 1,500 of you on right now, I hope you realize how huge this is and the amount of volunteer effort that's been pushed toward this group. It just is an honor to watch, especially you three right now, as you talk about what you've been working on. We look forward to having that roll out to Andy and his team tomorrow. Andy, with your permission, each night at 6:00 Mountain Time, which is Denver time, we're going to jump on and do a live with these viewers just to give them an update of how things are going. And maybe at that point, if you and the sheriff agree, we'll show some of those tracks and some of the areas that are being covered. And again, we won't be sharing any of the evidence that's collected, but it'll be a way for people to be a part of things. And we hope you'll jump on and each night tell us how things are going. And we'll have other guests that we've been talking to, Chris, to help join in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that'll be really interesting to help us maybe feel a little bit like we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'm all about that. I think that's very important. This will build a movement, and if people are involved, there'll really be a movement before this is over. You know, who knows how many missing people that we can search for in the future. This is kind of a groundbreaking ceremony right here, and could be huge in the future for a lot of other people.
Well, you're doing great things.
I'll speak for Rob and his team. They're looking at this as a way to take this technology and perfect it and make it available to anyone in the world that needs it. And I literally mean anyone in the world, because these three are on the phone with people in every reach of the world every single day talking about technology. So this is really an amazing thing. Chris?
No, I agree with you, Mike. I mean, these are very humble warriors in the fight against evil. I mean, these are guys, to our PE family, you don't see these faces in front of the camera very often, if at all. And they have stepped up here for Andy and Suzanne. And, just I can't say enough about you guys. I mean, seriously, you guys have stepped up to the plate. Michael asked, he gave you a big lift, and each of you have delivered here 100%. And Mike, I'm not going to sell you short either. I mean, you've done an amazing thing here as well, supporting Andy and his family. And we're not done tonight, by the way. We have a doctor coming to talk to us about altitude sickness and any other things that we need to also be aware of. So Andy, hang around, don't go anywhere.
Right.
Rob, Jeff, Jeremiah, any last comments? And we're going to say goodbye to you, but you can stay in the green room because you don't want to miss Dr. Salerno. She's like this.
She's awesome.
We've been having people for 2 months say, when's Dr. Salerno coming back? So
Yeah.
No, I was just say, let me know. I'm going to run up really early Friday, so happy to help out there where I can. But yeah, good luck and thanks to everyone.
So
we'll make sure
Jeremiah,
that you and Andy have phone numbers
that's
exchange, and
Okay.
that's our point of contact there. Good. I'm sorry.
Jeff, Rob.
No, just a good luck to everybody. This is amazing, the amount of support, and we're going to do everything we can to get you as many resources to make sure everybody can get up and running and everything goes smoothly and everybody stays safe and works together. And, we'll be praying that everything works out for the family.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to help.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Hoorah,
guys.
devil dog.
Well, folks, thank you so much. We have probably missed a few of the super chats along the way, but Robin Lane, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Drala Tina, thank you, $50. Really appreciate that. And by the way, Robin, $15. Robin Lane, that's so helpful. And Classy Lady, 1166. $25, and I know that you weighed in earlier. You people are just amazing, and it's just fun to see so many faces that are familiar to us, and we know that folks that we've had a chance to work with from other YouTube channels and in-house are joining up, and Makaz 781, thank you so much for what you've done. Now, Chris, bring on again, folks, for 2 months, we've been having people say, why isn't Dr. Salerno coming on again?
I know, right? We yay. Hi. So
Andy, meet Dr. Amy Salerno.
You're muted. You're muted. Hit your mute. No, I did the same thing. Don't worry. I went to space about an hour ago.
Okay.
So are you here?
Yes, I am.
How
Hello?
are you? You look great. How are you?
I am well, thank you. And I'm
Good.
so delighted to finally meet Andy Moorman, whom I have watched over and over and over, looking like he had the Star of Bethlehem behind him one time, watching just the top of his head one time, listening to all the different machinations of your videos, and also just so tickled that you have done this thing and rallied round for your beloved sister.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's sure nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
we asked Dr. Salerno to help those that are searching to kind of prepare themselves from a medical standpoint. And I don't know, Chris, I mean, always steps up. Dr. Salerno, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I mean, we're good at saying, everybody don't forget to wear orange clothes. Okay. And Dr. Salerno's going to say, well, that was good, but so what do we need to know? Where do you want to start? You want to start with altitude sickness?
Yes, but before I put that up, I have one disclaimer here. I mean,
yes, hit me.
Series over the past couple of weeks of these men, these professional guys who are what I call high tech, just cutting edge, which is fabulous. I am basically a country family doctor. I am not world renowned.
Oh, yes, you are.
I would have to argue that you are world renowned because this channel is all over the world, Doc.
Yes, you are.
So my mantra that I always tell people is, I believe in, this is just for me in my practice, right? Not for anybody else.
Yes.
I believe in the old-timey approach of family medicine, what I call high touch, low tech. So I hope people are not going to be disappointed, your 1,500 folks here tonight, nor Andy, that I will not be presenting anything that's, technological. I am going more for what I call sort of the earthy, crunchy, organic approach to staying safe when you're hiking and searching.
Love it. So, okay, so the elephant in the living room, COVID-19.
Yes.
I know that's kind of a curveball. So social distancing, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I don't know if y'all know that there was a little error made on the CDC website yesterday, and they began to say that 6 feet was not enough. Now they've retracted that statement. But 6 feet, as long as folks are 6 feet apart, you technically don't have to wear a mask. And you are outside, so you have the breeze, God willing, and you are probably least at risk for COVID-19 outdoors in the wilderness, and if you can stay 6 feet apart from one another.
But if they have a mask, they could wear them. It'd probably be a good thing.
It would be a good thing. Yes.
Awesome. What do you think about altitude? Let's talk. Let's go down that lane.
All right. Well, I did send a little info to Tyler here. That's like, oh, there it is. Okay. So basically, I think that I'm going to start in the middle of the page, and that is know where you all live and know where Salida is.
Yeah.
And
Really important.
it really is important because Salida, Colorado is at about 7,000 feet above sea level. Buena Vista, which is not far from there, is at 8,000 approximately. Where I live on the East Coast, I'm at sea level. So I did give some examples below, but I want everybody to kind of think about, well, where do I live and where am I going? And I'm going to Salida. I am not, but folks are going to Salida. They're going to be near the threshold of risk for altitude, high altitude sickness, which is 3,000 feet. So as an aside, I was thinking back to when I was 15, I went for 6 weeks into the Alps to do some wilderness climbing, and nobody told me about altitude sickness. So I arrived, and the first day that I was there, I began to have these very odd sensations of feeling dizzy, feeling weird, which I am kind of a quirky person anyway, but I thought, this is bizarre. Headache. I would look up at the mountains above, and I would see everything kind of moving, and I got scared because I was far away from home, and I didn't really want to tell anybody I was having these symptoms because I thought maybe they would think I'm nuts. So I just calmed my own self down, and within 24 hours that abated. But where I was in the Alps was actually only at about 4,000 to 5,000 feet above sea level. So it occurred not at the threshold of 8,000 feet. So I just wanted to bear everybody in mind that this high altitude sickness can occur even well below the 8,000 foot threshold. The other thing is that there's sort of a lot of myths out there that, oh, only old people can get high altitude, or young people are immune from high altitude sickness. And those are all actually myths. Anybody, no matter if they're pregnant, if they're a pediatric patient, young adult, senior, which is over 55, which is myself, all of us are at risk for getting high altitude sickness. And I just wanted to go over a few of the sort of the symptoms here. And basically what it is that when the higher you get up in the mountains, the pressure of oxygen is less. It's much more difficult for you to breathe in. And therefore, you're getting essentially less oxygen, and therefore less oxygen to your brain. Hence, I was dizzy and kind of feeling weird, and headache, etc. And there's less oxygen available, basically. So you're having to breathe more quickly and trying to breathe more deeply. And therefore, you have a much higher risk for getting dehydrated. And we're going to kind of go into that in a minute.
Okay.
There are 3 phases of acute mountain sickness or AMS. I only decided to present one because I think because Salida is just at that threshold, I cannot imagine people getting cerebral edema, pulmonary dysfunction, and then a heart attack and dying.
Yeah,
So-
and 3/4 of them are from that area already. 3/4 of our volunteers. So this is really that 1/4, of folks that are coming in. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yes, and I don't mean to be pedantic or to sort of demean anybody, because I'm sure all of what I'm presenting tonight probably everybody is aware of. But I think it's always a good review, especially I did read some commentaries at different places on these different little true crime channels of like, we don't want flatlanders coming. That's going to not help us. But I think in some ways the folks from Salida were correct, those folks that did make the comment about flatlanders, and I would be considered a flatlander. And Andy, I don't know in Indiana which part you're in, but I don't know if you are a flatlander.
I'm a flatlander.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
Okay. So, and you appear to be, you don't appear to be a spring chicken.
No, I'm not. But,
Okay.
I will tell you, I hiked the Colorado Trail twice in the same day. And
Okay.
I will admit, when I got to the top, I had to
Oh.
stop and catch my breath a few times.
Okay.
And I drank a ton of water.
Good. All right. So you're obviously acclimatized and you're in good shape.
Yeah,
But-
not bad.
The literature does point out that even Olympians or folks that climb Everest can get this. So none of us is immune from this. But I just wanted to make sure that the folks that are truly not in great shape or not used to being at high altitudes should be made aware of the symptoms, that usually within 12 to 24 hours upon arrival, it does dissipate. How do you prevent it? Acclimation or acclimatization is the right word in medicine. Some recommendations are that you should stop at a lower altitude for 24 hours and then proceed to your final destination. I personally think that the taxi that picked me up from the airport when I was 15, well, I don't think I should have stopped with a taxi driver, but I think somebody should have probably had me stay at a lower altitude for 24 hours and then brought me up, to 4,000 or 5,000 feet. This is back when I was 15.
Right.
So if folks have an opportunity this week to arrive and stay at a little bit of a lower altitude for 24 hours, that's going to help you acclimate. There's a saying, climb high and sleep low. So hopefully if you're all climbing through the woods and whatnot, searching, you'll be able to sleep at an altitude slightly lower than where you've been climbing.
Okay.
I wanted to mention that folks that are considered senior hikers, which is basically anybody from 55 and above, they have a much.
That would be Mike.
That would be Mike. That would be I. And
Probably me.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm in there too.
Yeah.
Are you on the threshold of a senior hiker?
Yeah, 58. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in the
welcome.
58 club.
He's a spring chicken.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not.
Just a boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just sort of all over the place tonight, but I want to go back to what Andy just said, and that is that hydration.
You can't drink enough.
You can't drink enough. And part of it is because you're breathing so rapidly to try to get that oxygen in because you're at a higher altitude, you are drying out. And so you need more hydration. On these kind of hikes and searches, this sort of flies in the face of what we do on an everyday basis, but it is recommended that folks take in 70% of carbohydrates. And I'm going to go over what kind of carbs in a couple of minutes. But usually we think, oh, protein is really, really good, but not at the moments during the hours that you're actually doing your search. It should be complex carbohydrates supplemented by some protein. Obviously, no alcohol, tobacco, sleeping aids. And if you're experiencing any symptoms, try to get to lower ground. What else do I want to say?
when I hear carbohydrates, I think of Twinkies and Ding Dongs. Is that?
Well, we're going to get to Twinkies. We're going to get to Twinkies and Little Debbie's. Have you heard of Little Debbie's? Yeah?
Who hasn't?
Yeah, that's under nutrition. Let's go to nutrition.
That's under nutrition.
There we go. Coming in.
Down. So basically, at a higher altitude, the body loses water twice as fast. So what you want to do is you want to have at least 1 to 1.5 liters. I do liters, but liters and quarts are about the same. So 1 to 1.5 liters of extra water just being in a higher altitude. But then you need even extra, like Andy was saying, as you're moving along. So water. And the interesting thing, as I was doing some reading, is that senior hikers have, because of our age, we just naturally have 10% less water in our bodies. So we are already starting off at a 10% deficit than somebody in their teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s. So that really, so I'm kind of talking to the folks now who are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that are going to go for the search. And just to remember, you're already at a deficit in comparison to the younger folks, no matter what great shape you're in. And therefore, you're at a 10% disadvantage for water, and you want to really boost your water before, during, and after. Now, the carbon, so I guess I'm going to move on. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I feel like I'm just running my mouth.
You know, we have Tim and Tyler in the back room, and if they would watch for
Little Debbie's a sponsor.
We do need a sponsor. Yeah, if Little Debbie's could step up, that would be awesome.
We'll take Little Debbie. Our Chicagoans Flatlanders. Yeah.
Oh, we just did. If you look on the other page, I think we use Chicago as a reference point. I'm not sure if we can go back to the first page. Chicago, Illinois. No. Yes, it's 673 feet above sea level. Yeah. Where New York City is at sea level. So I forget who just asked that question. I think that's the name. But yes, you are considered a flatlander, as am I, as is Andy.
In Indiana, we call those city slickers, but okay, whatever you want to call them.
Yes, city slickers. Yes. So if you all look here, Chicago's at 673 feet above sea level. Albuquerque, New Mexico, I was surprised, is at 6,000 feet. Omaha, Nebraska, 1,200. And I was very surprised to find out that LA is, I think, up in the 3,000 to 4,000. So, this kind of, yes. Ann Lane, I totally agree. We're going to talk about a little first aid kit in a minute. And I think that you have mentioned some really great things. The Tylenol versus wait, can you put that back up? The Tylenol, ibuprofen, and daytime antihistamines. I wanted to speak to the difference between Tylenol and the class known as nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, which would be ibuprofen, Aleve, Motrin, Mobic, Advil. Those are non-steroidals, and generally we actually don't recommend when you're exercising or doing any sort of heavy type of physical activity. We do not recommend non-steroidals because those are cleared. Yeah, hold on, wait, I'm getting lots of questions here. This is like, I feel like I'm on I don't know, some stage show or something here.
Here they come.
Here they come.
Coming.
Okay. So, all right, here's the thing. So the non-steroidals, like the ibuprofen, Advil, Motrin, etc., are passed through the kidneys. And in high altitude, your kidneys are much more taxed, as is your heart, because they're trying to get oxygen, and then the oxygen is trying to flow to your lungs, to your kidneys. So you don't want to tax your kidneys, especially if you have hypertension, diabetes, or any underlying kidney disorder. So generally, I would recommend, and I think the literature bears this out, that it would be preferable to take Tylenol. So that Miss Ann, I think, asked me that question.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The antihistamines, I guess I would be a plus or a minus for those because antihistamines, especially in older folks above 50, have two problems associated with them. They're extremely drying and dehydrating, and they also cause dizziness. and balance issues, especially if you're over 50. So can the doctor talk about people with breathing issues? I think it would really depend on what kind of breathing issues. For instance, women that are pregnant, you would think, well, they have a much, like their tidal volume, and it's very physiologic, it decreases, but pregnant women actually compensate for not being able to expand their lungs and bring in the oxygen. So pregnant women have no increased risk for altitude sickness. I think anybody that is an asthmatic or has emphysema or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is at risk, because they tend, especially the emphysemic patient, tends to hold on to carbon dioxide, preferentially to oxygen. So imagine if you're constantly oxygen depleted as an emphysemic individual, and then you go to high altitude and you can't even get as much oxygen as usual, then yes, you're going to have much more difficulty sort of managing your breathing issues. I would certainly recommend that any folks that are asthmatic or have COPD or emphysema bring their rescue inhaler as well as their preventive inhaler.
Awesome. Nutrition. Shoes. Shoes. Wear good shoes, good, comfortable hiking boots, right?
I'm going to get in. I'm very bad with names. I do think that's a really good question. And at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about a little first aid kit thing. And the shoes will come up.
Good. Let's bring that page back up if we can, and let's have you continue, Doc.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think we're on to the next and final page, which is the nutrition. So I want to go over, because I'm really into nutrition, even though I need to lose a ton of weight myself and I struggle. But I'm really, as a family practitioner, we really focus on prevention and nutrition, and we really try to counsel our patients on these issues. And there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, just out in the community in general about no carbs. I don't want carbs. And there is a difference between a complex carbohydrate and a simple carbohydrate. And Andy, I think, mentioned this early, Little Debbie's. I don't know. What did you say? I said Little Debbie's. What did you say?
Yeah, Twinkies and Ding Dongs or something
The
like that.
Twinkies, Ding Dongs, Little Debbie's. Yeah, all of those are simple carbohydrates, processed sugar, which is great. Like, you feel good for about 10 minutes. Yum, 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 yum. It was delicious. Comfort food. I'm feeling good, hugging myself because I had that food. And then about 20 minutes later, you get a surge in insulin in your body. Your pancreas gives you a surge, and then you get the big dive, and you get hypoglycemic or low sugar, and you get like, I want to go to sleep now. I want to be a bear in a cave. So going hiking or searching and, downing little Twinkies or whatever they're called is not a good idea. And let me just kind of go through the complex carbs. The interesting thing with complex carbs is basically it takes more steps physiologically to break the carbohydrates down into sugar. And it does it over a slower period of time, so that you will have several hours of feeling good, feeling stable. And the other thing about complex carbs, I'll give you the example, oatmeal is like my go-to, is that it actually, and fibers, rev your metabolic motor. So you're revving your motor and it's giving you energy, but it's giving you it more for the long haul.
Thank you, Anna.
Mary became a YouTube member. Oh, that's good.
Give her a shout out, Doc. Give her a shout out.
Yay! We like that.
She's so great. See, go ahead.
Okay, so here's some breakfast ideas. He's laughing, man. Okay, here's some breakfast ideas for when you go hiking. The easy stuff: oatmeal with berries and nuts. Why? The oatmeal is your complex carb, so it's going to rev your motor. It's going to keep you going. The berries are also complex carbohydrates, but they're very low in calories. And nuts will give you fat and protein. some of these are kind of like sound goofy, but they're actually really good. Peanut butter and banana sandwich on whole wheat bread. The higher the fiber, the more your engine works. And the banana is a complex carb, and the peanut butter is the fat and the protein. Then you can take a long lean meat like turkey or smoked salmon or beef jerky. But when you're doing your heavy hiking and searching, the complex carbs are the key thing, and then you can supplement with some protein along the way. Eggs and avocado toast, and again, the toast would be on a whole wheat. That's, again, you're getting your complex carb, you're getting your eggs, which is high in protein, and the avocado has, good fats. So
I don't see anywhere on that list a cop's breakfast of caffeine and donuts.
Oh yes, donuts from Dunkin'.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really pretty open to just about anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, somebody said, so Girl Scout cookies are off the list. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
I forget there was when I lived in South Carolina. There was that really Krispy Kreme.
Oh,
Krispy Kreme.
Yeah,
it's a mess. They're a mess.
Yeah, they are, but they're really good. These are things people could do, or the search at the end as a celebration.
That's right. And just
Doc,
while we're
some of
talking,
these,
go ahead, Mike. No, you're
if some of these stores are trying to figure out how to help Andy's crew out and they want to donate some food to bring over, what are the kinds of things that you would recommend they send? Is it a granola bar or is it something else?
Very good question.
I'm a student.
Here we go. All right, so
no surprise here.
A granola bar is, I really think 99% of granola bars, because I've done these like deep dives into protein bars. This is what I spend my free time doing. And the bulk of protein bars will give you a quick fix, but they're not that high at all in protein, and they're very high in carbohydrates. So I don't think a protein bar is good. I put on here, but I think my daughter took it off because she typed this for me. But it was this oatmeal protein, and you make it all cold with some semi-sweet chocolate and a little coconut, and make them into balls. You put them in the fridge, and they're quite high in protein and quite low in calories, but they also have the complex carbohydrates. And I wish my child hadn't taken that off. I'll be talking to her later. So the two, and I'm not necessarily saying for your main meal or in place of a complex carbohydrate while you're searching, but the two, in my opinion, and a fairly scholarly opinion, the two best protein bars out there. I want to see if I can show this to you. One is called Builder's Protein, and it is by Cliff. The other Cliff ones are not good, but this Builder's Protein, the reason I like it, I love it, and I use it when I'm desperate between a meal is because if you look, it has 20 grams of protein, and it has extremely little sugar. So you get your 20 grams of protein, you get some fiber. The total carbs is 31 grams. That's very, very little for a protein bar. So these are expensive, but one of these will, honestly, if you eat it, let's say of a morning, not when you're hiking, guys, but if you eat it of a morning, you miss a meal, or you want this as a supplement, this will hold you 5, 6, 7 hours. And it's
amazing.
280 calories.
So folks, if you're looking for something to do, contact the Builder's Protein Company, and
how long would these hold you?
And invite them to push it out.
About how many are in there?
I don't know yet.
About 25. That would hold you about 12.5 minutes.
I never count them.
Okay. But that's all right. You're slim. So this one is honestly by far my favorite because this one is it's thick, okay? And it has 20 grams of protein. This is like we say in Spanish, chueco. I don't know how to get it right, but
yeah, that's it.
20 grams of protein. And if you see the zero next to it, has 0 grams of sugar. It is a real, and this is the peanut butter one. It is delightful, and it's a healthy thing. 240 calories. So
Wow.
these are expensive, guys. I mean, I don't think folks would want to waste their money if people are donating things, because they run about $1.40 a piece. So they are a bit expensive. And that's why I think something like beef jerky, which is high in sodium, but it'll give you a bang for your buck on protein. Salmon, the little smoked salmon, those are high protein things that are really very good and I think quite less expensive. There was something, could you put, Tyler, please, the second page back?
We have other essentials.
Where do you buy these bars? Well, sometimes I go on eBay to get a really good deal. And I mean, you could get these on eBay sometimes for like 70 cents or something. So I just put in, I also can get them on Amazon and sometimes I get a deal. But then you can just go to I don't know where everybody lives, but we have something called Shop and Stop or Weiss Pharmacy or Wegmans. What do you all have out there?
Hershey.
No, the market.
I'm teasing. Okay, I'm kidding. You know me. I'm a jokester.
That's all right. No worries. No worries.
Milk,
What kind of market? Supermarket.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sure all the big boxes that have them and
Publix.
yeah,
Right.
so that's great.
But these, I mean,
Yep.
out of probably 50 different ones that I, along with the staff, have done a deep dive on over the past year or two, by far, these are the healthiest protein bars.
Yep.
Okay, so
That's great.
there were just 2 more things I wanted to mention about what to avoid when you're hiking, especially in the higher altitude, but hiking in general, is to avoid milk products. Yogurt's okay because yogurt does not contain lactose. But anything else, cheese and milk, anything else that's a lactose product, especially milk, will give you a problem with upset stomach, gas, belching, and diarrhea. And the last thing folks want to have is diarrhea while they're in the woods.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
That could be a problem. Yes, especially my mother, God bless her. I mean, she is alive still. She's 89. She I don't know. This is probably totally inappropriate, but
Hey, this is choir practice. That's why we're here.
practice. Okay,
We love Andy. We love Suzanne. We love everybody that's here. And that's just part of being here.
okay. Let me tell you
Talking about it, right?
thing to know. My mother taught me this when I was very young. She said that when she was about 12, she and a friend went out for a hike, and they had to, avoid. We'll say, okay, we say in Spanish, chichi.
Yep.
Whiz. I don't know what people call it. And so apparently, her friend didn't identify that 3 leaves was poison ivy, and she decided to wipe herself, and this was not a good thing. Can you imagine? So probably better. I see Doc. Los Angeles is at 285. There was somewhere out in California that was higher.
Big Bear.
If you decide that you need the chi-chi, I think what is the drip and dry method would be best.
Yes, thank you. That is okay. All right. So this is doctor humor. That was doctor humor if I've ever heard it.
So the final thing I want to say is
go.
Fruit juices are out. Fruit juices are out because they will give, again, they're a simple carb. They're going to give you a quick high, and you're going to get the big dive in your sugar, and then you're going to be weak.
Yeah, we're going to need the Daybell porta potties.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so how about the kit that they should be carrying with themselves? Just something to help in the spur of the moment.
Well, first of all, I think if anybody's on medication, as I said, like if they're asthmatic or COPD, emphysema, or diabetic, then obviously carry your medications. When I've hiked in North Carolina and up in the Alps, and when I worked in the Dominican Republic in the mountains also as a physician, you can only carry so much. So I think these are the top, 6 things that I would recommend. And I think the gal, I forgot her name, maybe it was Anne or something, earlier said that Tylenol, I think it's good in case you do get a headache. Obviously, you need some sort of a bag, whether you decide you want a fanny pack, a large fanny pack, or a string backpack, something not too heavy, small. I hope everybody knows what moleskin is. Does everybody know what that is?
Yeah.
You can get it in the at Target or whatever, and it comes, it's beige. It comes, you cut it up, and it's fantastic for when you start to get blisters on your feet. And I think everybody should carry moleskin, in my opinion. Sunscreen, and we do recommend sunscreen. Anything over 30 anything under 30 is not helpful. So over 30 for your SPF sunscreen. I always carry a whistle. I know that like REI or any other outdoor sort of stores do carry these wilderness whistles. I'm not talking about, like a lifeguard whistle. It has a specific pitch and it will go a specific distance.
Though that's a really good one, Amy. That maybe we just remind everybody, if you're coming, a whistle is a great way. If you end up falling behind or you lose your crowd, and I assume, Andy, you'll have a team leader that's kind of watching bundles of people, but that could be a really good way to communicate. Yeah.
I think so. I think it's very important, and they're very little and they're plastic. So I think anybody could quickly get one, some bug spray, although we use in the Spanish community, yes, sunglasses, absolutely. Spanish community, we use something called Vaporu. Does anybody know what Vaporu is? Vapo rub. We use it for lots of
Oh, it's French.
No, it's that would be vapeur. Vaporu. There's lots of jokes in Spanish about vapor.
Like Target.
Like Target. Vapo rub. We have it in small little jars in our house. And that is probably the best bug spray you can imagine. And you just put it a little behind your ears, little on here, behind your knees, on your ankles, just a wee bit. And yeah.
For heaven's sakes, I didn't know that.
So Vapo rub is great. A light hat. I know. I hope somebody fully charged cell phone. Yes, be real. Yes. Perdón. Oh, my daughter's going power banks. Yeah. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, those little power banks so that you plug your phone in.
Recharge your phone in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell her thank you. That's a great point.
Thank you.
It was a very valid point.
Good to have the youth here.
Yes, it is good to have the youth.
Definitely.
And the other thing I really believe in is a little jar of Vaseline, because you can use it for many things. You can use Vaseline for chapped lips, and you can use it if you think that you are beginning to get a blister. Just rub a bunch of Vaseline on your feet, on those areas, and it's great as prevention of blisters. I feel bad that I would like to have a summary of what all the folks, commenters, wrote, because I think they wrote some very good things. I think there was a light hat, there was Tylenol. I don't believe that the NSAID should be used. There was Tylenol. Does anybody else remember?
There was a flashlight. And most of these will be in the daytime, but you never know that afternoon shift if you did end up falling behind. Again, remember you're in the mountains. It was 39 or 40 degrees the other night when we turned in the mountains. So
yeah. So layers. I think layers much better than just one heavy jacket. I actually don't even own a snow jacket, and I just layer, and then have a windbreaker on top, even when I go to work or whatever. And I just undo the layers or add layers. So I think that's a better thing than like a snow jacket or a parka. So I think let's ask Andy what questions he would have. I know I'm a nonstop talker. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you have to carry a lot of water, but you also have to be careful not to weight yourself down.
Right. Right.
So in my case, I just drank a whole bunch of water on the way up, and then I didn't have much. So that worked out pretty good for me. The problem I had was one of the guys that was with us wasn't carrying a whistle, and he got away, and he had all the candy bars with him. We had some granola type nut bars.
Right.
I was starving by the time I got down off that trail the second time. So I was like, Matt, where's the candy bars? Well, I ate them all.
Oh no! Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. So,
That's
but
not
no,
good.
I mean, it really wasn't that bad. But here again, you mentioned acclimating yourself, and I had stayed there for a full night before I went out and hiked, and I think that really helped. So I really didn't experience much altitude problems out there, even at 58. And a former smoker, not anymore.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, but it didn't really bother me too bad at all. I felt like I kept up real well. So
Good.
yeah.
Andy, there's a question on the screen. Folks that would like to send some stuff for the search team, are there folks in Salida that you have as a contact that we could maybe use as a point of contact for things like that? Or is it better that they don't send stuff and they just put it on the GoFundMe or something like that?
I think the GoFundMe would be much better. Otherwise, it gets a little too bulky for any one person to handle. So I do appreciate that thought, but the best thing would be just send a couple of bucks. We'll buy one of those expensive not granola bars,
Protein
bars, and put those in the backpack and bottles of water, and we should be good to go.
Awesome. So just go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you were gonna say something.
I am.
Oh, okay. So, well, I just kind of wanted to, talk about I saw one of the things go by the vigil Friday night, Andy. Can you give us a little more insight into? We know it starts at 7:00, right? And how is that all coming together? Again, the great people in Salida stepped up.
Yeah, they set all that up, and to be honest with you, I know they're going to have some light music. It's going to be down by the river, which would be downtown Salida there, close to the river. I think there must be some type of pavilion area.
Okay.
I'm really not that familiar with it yet. I'll get that way as soon as I get out there. But I know they're going to have a really nice candlelight vigil there for Suzanne. And I greatly appreciate that. The prayers are welcome.
Yeah. We know that Lauren Sharp has played a really important role in keeping her in everybody's mind out there. And, I don't think it would be doing justice without giving, her a shout out tonight, because she really has worked, tirelessly on your sister's behalf. But, not only the fact that she's a professional journalist, but at the same time, she didn't have to do all the things that she's done. She's really gone a little bit further than I think, Mike and I would agree.
I don't know how many hours she's put into this, but it's been a bunch. And I'll tell you, Lauren shared something with me, and she's been through something similar to this. So
interesting.
I think this strikes right at home for her, and she has a very big interest in it. The difference being, they found her loved one. I'm not sure that they solved the case, but they did find the person, so they had some closure that way. But she said, still to this day, I wonder, and so here again, I'm after finding my little sister and bringing her home, giving her a proper burial, and putting closure to my family that way. The rest of it's up to the big man above and law enforcement. I'll have nothing to that.
And look at what we just saw up there with Goddess Jada, Mike. I mean, it doesn't get any more sincere than this young lady right here, saying what she's saying about you and your family. I've got to be honest with you. My wife has said 1,000 times, Suzanne is speaking for a lot of women in this world today. I mean, Dr. Amy, are you connecting with that idea as well? I mean, what is that exactly going on here?
We know that men are victims of domestic violence and violence, but I think I can speak anecdotally, and the literature bears this out, that women by far are more vulnerable to both domestic violence and crimes of violence. And I think it resonates with women. And, I have 2 young adult daughters, and I mean, yes, I do have them on, like Find My Friends, but I worry when they go out, and safety in numbers. But I think your sister, Andy, her story resonates with so many people around the world, and I think for me, well, people often will say, "Oh, she's so beautiful, she's so beautiful." For me, it's the inner beauty that I felt impacted by when I read your sister's story, and I've been keeping along, because beauty outside fades with time, but inside beauty is something that's enduring.
Yeah.
And from what I can glean from what I've read about your sister and what I've seen other folks say about her, and just from looking at her photograph, she shines.
Yeah.
And she's radiant.
I wish you could have met her.
Yeah, I wish I could have too. But I think that radiance comes from a place far deeper than the superficial beauty.
Yeah. My mother had that as well.
Yeah, I think Mike and I were talking about this earlier. Remember, Mike? I mean, I think between us, we've done a lot of different things, but something, call it, a spiritual divine push, call it, something from the other side, whatever, however somebody identifies to it. But there is something divine about your sister that I think has moved, quite frankly, the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I, no matter what happens, Andy, no matter what happens, you have done the right thing on behalf of your sister and your family. And I don't think anybody is going to, the people that say, if they say anything about that, then, it's more about them than it is about you, period. And, at some point, the universe will be on schedule.
Yeah.
And it will be balanced. But I just got a feeling that no matter what, you're going to get there, and you, on behalf of your family, you're going to make a difference. And I got to be honest with you, I found out last week that other people, weren't around. They were out elk hunting.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to name any names. I don't think I have to.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now that said, okay, that doesn't mean anything about anybody. It just means your sister's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, there are other things that need to come to play here.
Yeah.
And I hope people step up and do the right thing at some point. Mike, what are your thoughts? Where I went there?
No, I'm thinking the same thing. And Doc Salerno, why don't you take, it looked like you had one other thought, and then I'll just
sorry.
maybe say a thing or two.
No, I mean, this is really more of a personal thing rather than a medical thing. But the way I trained was what we call the biopsychosocial spiritual model of medicine. And I just wanted to mention, I guess, two things. I know a few choirs ago, Chris mentioned Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning, which is one of my favorites from college. But I also wanted to mention, and then I'm going to swing in, and it's going to come right back to you, Andy, in a minute, is I don't even know if it's still in print. It's a tiny little book of about 50 pages by Henry Nouwen, who was he's now deceased, Catholic priest, and he was out of Yale University School of Divinity. And in college, I read this book that somebody gave me, and it's called The Wounded Healer. And the premise of his book was and is, how can we each be healers when each of us in some profound way has been wounded in our life? And what Henry Nouwen did as part of writing this book was that he worked in the hospital, and he discovered that with the patients that had nobody, but went into surgery and had nobody waiting for them coming out of surgery, they had a much higher mortality rate and a much higher complication rate. But for the people that Henry Nouwen asked permission, and these people said, yes, I want you to pray for me. And what he said in this book is he told these people, he prayed for them. And then he said, I want you to know that you are not alone, that I am here waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to come out of surgery, and I'm not going to leave until you come out. And what bore out for Henry Nouwen, and actually Duke University, where I went undergrad, had a similar study done back in the 80s where people prayed for certain patients and whatnot. And what bore out is that the patients that were prayed for and the patients that were told you are not alone and we're waiting for you did far, far better emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so I just wanted to mention the Wounded Healer. And there are two more little quick things I wanted to mention again.
And who's the author? Who's
Yeah.
the author, Doug?
Henry, but it's Henri because he's French. Henri, Nouwen, Nouwen, and it's called The Wounded Healer. And in my own life, I don't need to get into any details, but believe me, I've had a lot of tragedy. And this Wounded Healer book was given to me when I was 17 years old by a psychiatric worker. I was working in a psych ward, and she said, I think you would like this book. And it changed my life, along with Viktor Frankl's.
Okay.
But
Tyler, maybe we can put those down in the below at some point. Go ahead.
No, just two more things. And one, so that sort of is my little foundation. And then I wanted to tell Andy that so there's something in I am Roman Catholic and Christian, and we in the Spanish community we do something called the I'm going to explain it. I'm going to say it and then I'm going to explain it. Called the palanca prayer, Palanca, palanca prayer, and a palanca is Spanish, and it means in English a lever or a lever. And what a palanca prayer is exactly what Profiling Evil has done for you over the past month, which they opened up where people could send good wishes and prayers to you. And it is in the belief of my Christian tradition that in conjunction with the Holy Spirit, the palanca prayer, which are prayers from different people, will help the recipient be happier in their moving closer to God and in seeking God's love. And so I firmly believe that this search with your 550 folks is like a carnal act of palanca prayer, that you've got people coming together and it's all to support you, Andy, all to lift you up. And like I explained to people, the palanca is like, if remember the seesaws that we used to play on in the playground, it's as if right now you're at the bottom of the seesaw and you just can't seem to lift yourself up. So you get 2, 3, 4, 5 people to get on the other end of the seesaw, and they go boom, and then you're lifted. And that's really what a palanca prayer is. And I believe strongly that regardless of what you do find or don't find, and if you never are able to find your sister, you have been transformed by the Profiling Evil community and people around the world that have lifted and that are lifting you in palanca. And I think this weekend is going to be your palanca experience, and you're going to go closer to God, you know?
Yeah.
So, I just had one more thing I wanted to say, if I might. So I wrote to you a few weeks ago. I don't even know if it went through because I don't know much about technology. But I just wanted to do this, and I know it's a little bit religious, but I hope that you guys don't mind if I.
You please do, Doc. Please do.
So this is literally from when I was like 16 years old. This is one of my favorite prayers that I give to people for whatever reason, and it comes from Ephesians chapter 1, 15, verse 15 through 20, and this is what I'm going to read just for you, Andy. This is what I want to, because I think that my belief is that the Word of God is better than all my little dirty jokes or whatever. So this is what it says, and this is Paul writing from prison. For this reason, ever since I heard about your faith in the Lord Jesus and your love for all the saints, I have not stopped giving thanks for you, remembering you in my prayers. I keep asking that God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation so that you may know him better. I pray also that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know the hope to which God has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints, and God's incomparably great power for those of us who believe. So that's from Ephesians chapter 1, 15 through 20. And that was written by Paul to the Ephesian community and from prison where he was held in chains. And I want to offer that as my palanca prayer to you, because I know, I don't know, but I imagine that you feel and have felt that you have been enchained by this experience.
Yeah.
And I want to pray that you are released from this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah.
We're going to give you the final word to thank folks, and we'll close it out.
Well, you know, the prayers help a lot. If you can't afford and you can't search, the prayers help a lot. They really do. They've made me feel really strong. May not sound like it at this moment, but they've made me feel really strong. And it renews your faith in mankind, even in a time of tragedy like this. So I just want everybody to know that I'm going to do the best I can out there. I'm going to try to be as organized as possible, and I'm not going to let anybody down intentionally. We're going to do our best to search, and I'm afraid of what I might find, and I'm afraid of what I might not find. But in the end, I'm going to know I gave it my best effort, and that's all I can ask. And I want to thank everybody for helping. It's just unbelievable.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Doctor. To the people of Salida, thank you for hosting this band of people that are going to show up. I hope that you have many faith communities represented at the vigil on Friday night, Andy, and to this huge family of people who are here for you, that they will pray to the God they believe in, and that together those prayers might get answered as you go out, that you'll have safety and that you'll have success, whatever that means.
Yeah.
For Chris and me, we want to say thanks to both of you. We will be back, folks, Thursday night at 6:00 Mountain Time for a report from Andy, and we'll do it each night during the search. We hope that you'll tell all your friends and that they'll listen in, and that together we can join and really support this group of warriors that are going out to do this amazing work. And we really hope, Andy, that the state of Colorado and the sheriff of Chaffee County step up and support this effort in a way that helps you be successful along the way. So until we see you Wednesday night, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.